Part 1. Classified as a training world when the Galactic Concorde first discovered Earth. They didn't see anything special. The planet was full of life, but nothing advanced, at least by their standards. There was no interstellar communication, no faster-than-light travel, and no unified planetary government. The most they saw was a loud, chaotic species humans still fighting among themselves. To the Concorde, Earth was just a wild, undeveloped world with dangerous weather, its unpredictable environments, and aggressive wildlife. It wasn't worth conquering, but it was useful for training. The Concorde had a name for places like Earth, Class 5 training worlds. These were planets that were dangerous enough to toughen up new recruits, but not advanced enough to pose a threat. Soldiers could be dropped there for survival missions, live-fire exercises, and tactical simulations without fear of serious consequences. And so, Earth was labeled just that, a training world. The first alien team sent to Earth was small, just 5 soldiers equipped with advanced gear. They were dropped into the Amazon rainforest to survive a 1-week field mission. They didn't last 2 days. One soldier died from a snake bite after his armor malfunctioned in the humidity. Another was dragged off by a jaguar. The rest were picked off one by one by the environment's storms, terrain, infection. Only one returned, barely. His report described Earth as a nightmare wrapped in green death. The Concorde reviewed the mission. Their conclusion? Not that Earth was dangerous, because of its natives, but because of its untamed biosphere. So they sent another team, this time to a desert in Central Australia. They disappeared completely. A third team was sent to a mountain range, again vanished. The Concorde began to grow uneasy. Soldiers weren't just dying, they were going missing without their equipment being recovered. That meant someone or something was taking them. Still, the Concorde assumed it was just wildlife or extreme weather. They never once believed the humans had anything to do with it. To them, Earth's native species were still in their early civilization phase. They had no idea that humans had already noticed them. Unbeknownst to the Concorde, Earth's surveillance systems, military satellites, weather monitoring stations, and even amateur astronomers had picked up strange signals. Odd heat signatures, vanishing aircraft, animals behaving strangely in areas known for military testing. Governments around the world began gathering data in secret. They couldn't prove alien activity, but they suspected, and suspicion led to action. Rather than go public or panic, major world powers formed quiet agreements. A secret global alliance began forming. It didn't have a name yet, but it had a goal: observe and prepare. Meanwhile, more alien teams continued to land across the planet. Some used stealth tech to avoid detection. Others tried blending in by landing in remote zones. Even then, they were being watched. Human special forces began tracking these phantom visitors, leaving no trace of their own presence. At first, they just watched, took notes, recorded video, but slowly, quietly. Earth's best were already starting to learn. What the Galactic Concorde failed to understand was this: Earth is a crucible. It's a planet where life only survives by adapting fast, thinking creatively, and pushing through pain. Humans, born from this unforgiving world, were already trained in war, strategy, survival, and innovation. In fact, the biggest mistake the aliens made was assuming Earth was unprepared, because while the Concorde thought they were using Earth to train soldiers, Earth was using them to train humans. By the end of Part 1, the stage is set. The aliens think they've found a convenient, dangerous wilderness for their soldiers to practice in. But they've completely underestimated the intelligence, awareness, and potential of humanity. The humans are still quiet, still pretending not to know. But beneath the surface, something is building. Something fast, something dangerous, something ready, and the galaxy has no idea what's coming. Part 2. The human response when the alien scouting teams began landing secretly on Earth. They believed humans were too primitive to notice them. They thought they could use Earth as a practice ground for new soldiers, testing their survival skills in Earth's harsh environments. But what they didn't expect was how good humans had become at watching without being seen. The first few alien teams that landed on Earth disappeared without a trace. Some were taken out by nature-wild animals, storms, diseases, but others, the aliens never knew. What they didn't realize was that humans had noticed their presence almost immediately. It wasn't obvious at first. Strange energy readings, satellite footage showing odd craft. A few terrified hikers describing floating shadows or beings with no faces. But Earth's intelligence agencies were already connecting the dots. Instead of reacting loudly or going public, the world's major governments chose a different path. They decided to stay quiet and study. Wanted to know who these aliens were, what they wanted, and most importantly, what technology they had. A secret coalition formed, quietly pulling together the best soldiers, scientists, hackers, and survivalists from across the globe. Nations that normally didn't get along suddenly worked together. They called the operation Project Obsidian. The goal of Project Obsidian wasn't war. It was training, but not for the reasons the aliens had in mind. Earth had just been given the most valuable thing of all, a live enemy who didn't know it was being watched. Every time an alien landed, they were tracked. Their movements were recorded. Their equipment was scanned and analyzed. In some cases, human operatives even got close enough to capture samples or the aliens themselves. And then humanity started to reverse engineer the alien tech. At first, it was small things: energy shields, scanner devices, personal cloaking fields. But soon, Earth's top engineers and coders began replicating and improving the alien tech. Human versions were rugged, adaptable, and faster to build. Earth wasn't just learning, they were getting better. Training camps were set up in deserts, rainforests, frozen tundras, and abandoned cities. Soldiers ran simulations against holograms. Based on alien biology, special ops teams practiced boarding drills using mock alien ships. Combat medics were trained in treating wounds made by plasma weapons. Even more impressive, Earth's forces began developing tactics that were completely unknown to the aliens. Human creativity mixed with brutal practicality made them unpredictable. Opponents: guerrilla warfare, deception, psychological manipulation, ambush tactics, and terrain-based combat were all refined to perfection. But the real turning point came when humans flipped the script. Instead of just observing or defending, elite human teams began actively seeking out alien landing sites. They didn't attack recklessly, they tested themselves. Every alien encounter was treated like a live training exercise. Teams were graded on stealth, adaptability, survival time, and capture success. Even failure became part of the learning curve. The aliens didn't even realize they were part of the exercise. From the outside, it looked like Earth was still quiet, still unaware, still primitive. But under the surface, something terrifying was growing. A species that learned by doing, improved by failing, evolved faster than any other species in the Concord's records. And all of this was happening before humanity had even made contact. By the end of Part 2, Earth is no longer the prey. It's not just a dangerous world with wild terrain, it's now home to the most adaptable fighting force in the galaxy. Forged in secrecy, tested by real encounters, and built on a foundation of both human ingenuity and alien technology. The galaxy still thinks Earth is just a training ground, but soon, we'll find out who the real trainees. Part 3. First Contact, Reversed After, Multiple Failed Training Missions on Earth. The Galactic Concord finally began to question their assumptions. Why were their teams disappearing? Why were their probes going offline? Something wasn't right. Their files still labeled Earth as a Class 5 training world. But the casualty rate was higher than any simulation had predicted. So the Concord made a decision. It was time to make first contact officially. They sent a diplomatic envoy ship to Earth. It was lightly armed, brightly marked, and equipped with advanced translation AI. The purpose wasn't to conquer, but to gather information, establish communications, and figure out what was happening on this backwater planet. The envoy expected to orbit Earth, send a greeting transmission, and wait for a reply from whatever counted as planetary leadership. But things didn't go as planned. Before they could even send a signal, their ship was hit with a low-level EMP pulse from Earth. Their engines didn't shut down, but they flickered. shields reconfigured. Internal systems began picking up unknown code. Then, to their shock, a massive human stealth ship decloaked right above them. This wasn't some ancient satellite or rusty missile platform. Human ship was sleek, jet black, and fully operational. And more importantly, it was already inside. The Concorde ship's sensor blind spot. The aliens realized too late that they had been hunted, not greeted. Then came the voice, unidentified vessel. "You are in restricted orbital space," said a calm professional tone. "You have 60 seconds to identify your purpose." The Concorde crew scrambled. How was this even possible? This species wasn't supposed to know anything about Starship protocols. And yet, the message was delivered in perfect Concorde standard, with no errors. The captain of the envoy tried to respond, but as soon as he activated the comms, the signal was intercepted. The screen changed, and the face of a human woman appeared. She wore a high-tech combat suit with a small flag on her shoulder, a patch showing multiple Earth nations. "United, I'm Commander Myra Chen, Earth Coalition Defense. Your ship has violated our sovereign space. You will power down your drives and prepare for escort." The Concorde captain stuttered. "Escort? By you." That's when the side of the human ship opened, revealing dozens of human operatives in advanced exosuits, each carrying weaponry that looked far too sophisticated for a supposedly pre-spacefaring species. The aliens still tried to flee. Bad idea. Within seconds, their propulsion systems failed. The aliens checked their logs in panic and discovered that their navigation systems had been overwritten. Remotely with Earth-coded malware, one of the engineers whispered, "They've reverse-engineered our systems? ... How?" The answer was simple. Humanity had been watching, learning, and preparing for years. Every alien mistake, every piece of dropped tech, every failed scout mission had become data. Then humans had turned that data into capability. Commander Chen's face returned to the screen. "You've been trespassing on our planet? We've recorded every drop, every move, every signal. We know what the Concorde thinks of us. But here's the truth." She leaned forward slightly, her voice cold. "You thought you were training your soldiers here? You weren't. We've been training ourselves, using you." The alien captain tried to protest. "We didn't mean harm," Chen cut him off. "Intentions don't matter. Preparation does. And now, your ship will return home with a message. Earth is no one's playground." Then the humans did something unexpected. They let the ship go. No boarding, no hostage-taking, just a warning. But the message was clear. Earth knew. Earth was ready. Earth had flipped the game. By the end of Part 3, the balance of power shifts. The Galactic Concorde, which once saw Earth as an expendable, dangerous wilderness, now realizes they've been outplayed by a species they considered. Primitive first contact didn't come with an invitation, it came with a warning, and for the first time in the Concorde's long history, they were afraid. Part 4. Welcome to the program. After the incident with the envoy ship, the Galactic Concorde was shaken. Their elite diplomatic crew had been outmaneuvered, hacked, and humiliated not by a galactic power, but by a primitive species they had labeled as backward. But Earth wasn't backward. It had just been quiet for the first time in centuries. The Concorde Command Council held emergency meetings to discuss how to deal with a planet that had unexpectedly turned the tables. The usual arrogant voices, those that had mocked the idea of human intelligence, were suddenly silent. A vote was held. New decision was made. Instead of trying to suppress or threaten Earth, the Concorde would attempt to collaborate. After all, Earth clearly had something no one else did, a unique ability to train soldiers to survive anything. So the Concorde sent a proposal. It was short, respectful, and direct. If Earth has mastered the art of training through adversity, then we request access. Teach us. Earth responded with one word: send them. And so, the first group of Concorde elite soldiers was dispatched. These were no rookies. They were hand-picked warriors from over a dozen advanced species, each with years of battlefield experience. They came expecting rough terrain, maybe a few clever traps, and human hosts who were tough but manageable. What they got was hell. Their drop site was in Alaska's remote wilderness. Snow, ice, gale force winds. But that was just the environment. The real problem was the trainers. These weren't just humans. They were Obsidian operatives, battle-hardened veterans who had spent years studying alien physiology, psychology, and weaknesses. They knew exactly how to push each alien species to its limit. Day 1, the Concord soldiers were stripped of most of their gear. Day 2, they were hunted, not lethally, but hard enough to terrify them. Day 3, they were ambushed with non-lethal sonic traps that simulated battlefield chaos. By day 5, half the Concord trainees had quit. The rest were starting to understand this wasn't training, this was transformation. The humans didn't just test physical strength, they tested reaction time under stress, morale under isolation, decision-making under sleep deprivation. Most shockingly, they made trainees train with ancient Earth tools, bows, fire-starting kits, even bare hands. At first the aliens laughed. At the simplicity, they stopped laughing when the humans beat them using those tools. One instructor, a former Marine named Ava Reyes, broke a four-armed Gorthic's confidence in under 5 minutes just by staring him down after a brutal 3-day exercise. "You think we're weak," she told him, "but we've been fighting nature, war, and each other for thousands of years. And nature never takes prisoners." That line was later quoted across the galaxy, but the training wasn't cruel, it was purposeful. Earth was trying to prepare them for the real threats the Concord hadn't yet faced, and deep down, the aliens knew it. The first class of trainees, what Earth later called Cycle 1, graduated after a month. Most of them had lost weight. Some had scars. Few had even cried during evaluations. But every single one of them walked away stronger. They returned to their fleets, their worlds, their governments, and they told everyone, Earth is not just a training world. It's the training world. More requests followed. Dozens of species sent troops. Earth responded by building new facilities, not high-tech bases, but purpose-built hell zones, swamps, lava fields, zero-gravity caves, underwater combat domes. Every biome Earth had. Weaponized. Earth also began teaching more than just combat. Tactics, engineering under fire, psychological resilience, emergency medicine with no supplies. Aliens who had once scoffed at humans now lined up to learn from them, and still, Earth said nothing. To boast, they didn't brag, didn't threaten, because they didn't need to. The results spoke for themselves. Part 5. The instructors of the galaxy, after hundreds of alien soldiers returned from Earth's brutal, effective training programs. The galaxy began to change. What started as a quiet rumor of a death world species that had flipped the script became a respected truth. If you wanted to survive the worst, you trained on Earth. The Galactic Concord officially renamed Earth's status from Class 5 training. World 2 Instructor World 0. The number wasn't just symbolic, it meant Earth was now the baseline for advanced survival and combat training. Across Concord space, alien officers and generals began referencing Earth-taught tactics in war colleges. Military schools sent their top candidates to apply for the Earth training protocol. Entire fleets restructured their discipline models to mimic human fire-team coordination. And for the first time, humans were being asked to run training programs on alien worlds. But Earth didn't just export knowledge, it exported people. Highly trained operatives, survival experts, field medics, and instructors were deployed too. Outposts, stations, and even war zones to train soldiers in real time. These humans became known across the galaxy as the instructors. They weren't gods, they weren't monsters, but they had a terrifying reputation. They never backed down, never panicked, and never lost their cool even when everything went wrong. Some became legends. Sergeant Ava Reyes was sent to train a Desert World's defense force. Within 3 months, her units could operate without water for 5 days, navigate blindfolded, and fight in 60 degrees Celsius heat. Motto became famous: suffer in training so you don't die in war. Captain Blake Stonefist Darrow taught an alien resistance group how to turn farming tools into anti-tank weapons. When asked what qualified him to teach war, he said, "I survived 3 tours in Earth's jungles with a backpack and a pocket knife. That's my diploma." Dr. Alira Khan, a trauma surgeon turned combat medic, trained aliens to operate on wounded under enemy fire. She once stabilized a 3-hearted Varelian soldier using only a med kit, a fork, and a shoelace. The Varelian Council gave her a planetary medal of honor. These weren't isolated stories. They were proof. Earth's real strength wasn't just in its weapons or soldiers. It was in its people's adaptability, resilience, and creativity under pressure. And the galaxy took notice. Within a few years, Earth-based training became a requirement for Concord. Special Forces certification. If you hadn't completed at least 1 month under human instruction, you weren't considered truly battle-ready. Even alien empires that had once mocked humanity now paid to send their best troops. And through it, all Earth stayed grounded. There were no demands for power, no invasions, no conquest. Why? Because humans knew something the rest of the galaxy didn't. The real war hasn't started yet. From what little alien prisoners had said early on, there were other forces out there, threats even the Concord didn't talk about. Civilizations that didn't negotiate. Beings that consumed entire systems. Earth had been training not for glory, but for survival. And now, they were helping the galaxy do the same. But Earth had one rule. A warning issued with every training request: we train you to survive, not to conquer. If you turn our lessons into tools of oppression, we'll know, and we'll come back to unteach you. But no one ever dared test that warning, because every species that trained with Earth learned one unshakable truth: you don't mess with the instructors. By the end of Part 5, Earth is no longer the overlooked death world at the edge of the galaxy. It has become the galaxy's teacher, its silent guardian, and its last hope against the unknown. The training world has become the proving ground for survival, leadership, and evolution. And should the darkness ever come, Earth won't just be ready. It will have trained the galaxy to fight beside it.